Well, hi! Welcome to episode 17 of Dixon Drawing Class. So, wow. We are nearly 2/3 of the way through our drawing class. That is crazy. Actually, 3/4 of the way through. 3/4? This is math. Don't ask me to do it. I became an artist so I would never have to do math again. So last week we were talking about how to draw props, and you should have been practicing an hour every day drawing props around your house. I hope that you have done that properly. Today we're going to be talking about drawing machines, and machines are a little bit different than props because they need to be functional, and I have 3 basic rules for drawing machines. So let's get started. We're going to talk about them. So the first rule I have about drawing machines is that you need to gather a lot of references. It can be references from artists, it can be references from real life, but we need to draw references. So for example, if I am drawing a steamship, a steampunk ship, what I would do is I would just find all the references I could. Okay, so we have this dirigible here and this hot air balloon here, and this is old vintage drawings. Okay, we have artist renders of different kinds of airships. These are great. All right, more artist renders, kind of different styles here. Another Victorian take on dirigibles and airships. Okay, another artist take. Okay, and once you have a bunch of those, I think it's a good idea to practice drawing them, right? And that way you can just kind of get the elements under your fingers. Okay, stuff like that. You'll practice it nicer than this, of course. All right, so then once you have that down and you've been practicing these references and maybe getting ideas for your own airship, the number 2 rule of drawing machinery is different than all the other rules of drawing props or humans or animals, and that is you have to figure out how this machine works, because that will really affect the design of the machine. So because steampunk is basically a universe where everything runs on steam, you have to know how a boiler works. So I've gathered pictures of boilers. There's this. Look at all this pipe work. This is nice. All right, figuring out how this steam works. We have a combustion chamber, air and fuel. So when you're drawing your airship, you have to figure out where the boiler is, where the vent is that it takes in air, how the pipes run, where the steam outlet is. All these things are going to affect your design. You just can't do a huge cylinder and call it good. You need to figure out where this boiler is, where all the pipes lead to, why is it in that section of the ship, etc. Okay, so you have to figure out that. I would also look up airship engines, airship propellers, things like that would be really good. So you have to figure out how it works and how everything attaches, and you really have to have a logical brain for this, and that's something that I'm not as good at. I'm not as good at machinery, but I know that there are a lot of artists out there who are very good. All right, and then once you feel like you've gathered enough references and you know how it works, you need to work on stylizing your own. So if we were drawing an airship here, and we'd gathered a lot of pictures of, steampunk ships and stuff. Let's move this layer up. Okay, look at this. He's got a lot of old-fashioned ship holes, which is something that I like. This looks kind of southern, Mississippi River style. That's fun. This is older. I kind of like this design. I'm going to stylize it by making it the hole a lot taller. Okay, so maybe try a sketch where you're doing this. Okay, you will need to study ships. You will need to study like air fins and why they're there and how they propel the ship and things like that. Drawing machinery is kind of a lot of work. Okay, and then how do they attach the balloon? Where do they attach the balloon? What's the most efficient way to attach the balloon? So really, you're basically an engineer when you are designing machinery. Even imaginary machinery needs to have function, or else you might get called out on that because some people are very smart and stuff when it comes to this kind of thing. Okay, and then maybe try saying, okay, well, what if we drew this ship in the shape of a rectangle? What if we, hang on, I'll finish doing that. So this is the ship hull, as you can see. It's like, what if we did this ship just almost around, maybe added, maybe made this little, the bow, I think that's called, just short and stubby. Okay, so messing a lot with the design and stylizing it, and then going back to your other references, and you know, it's like, oh, I like that this balloon echoes the roundness of this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this have a big balloon. Okay. Kind of goes in like this. All right, and then, you know, we'd put the boiler inside here. Maybe we'd have an exterior boiler like this, and then we know that, you know, we bring the steam up a pipe here, and the pipe would warm the rest of the ship, and so all the rooms would be around this main pipe. Anyway, so stuff like that. We could spend forever drawing and messing around and figuring out this machinery and how it works, and basically world building. We don't have forever. But it is fun to mess around and figure it all out. See, this would have kind of a cloth that covers it and attaches to it. Lots of like this, and then of course maybe a propeller on the back. Okay, propeller here. Okay, so stuff like that. We could spend forever doing this. But this gives you a basic idea of how to create your own machinery, figuring out how it works, gathering references, and stylizing it. Like I said, you really need to figure out how things work, because that is a huge deal when it comes to drawing machinery. You're basically an engineer. Right, that is the end of our lecture. Yay! Today we are going to be drawing our own piece of machinery. What we've got here, this is a transformer. Ooh. Okay, transformers are kind of fun because they need to be functional. They need to fold up into a car or vehicle or whatever, and so you have to figure out how they fold together. We're going to be doing a custom version of this, which means that we're going to get the basic template down, and then we're going to customize it to what you look like. We've done this before, never with a transformer, so it's going to be fun. Let's begin. Okay, this one's going to be tricky because he or she is made up entirely of rectangles and squares. Okay, not a lot of circles here to mark things. I think circles are much easier than rectangles and squares. And not only that, but there are a lot of details inside this basic blocking that we're going to have to get down. So it's going to be a tricky one, but hang in there, stay with me. When we're finished, we'll have a really cool robot that you'll be able to draw and impress your friends with. Let's take a look at our layout sheet right here. If you notice, this big main square that we've got here is pretty small on your page. It's almost in the middle. It's a little bit higher. So maybe let's draw this rectangle. It's just a little bit wider than a square. Draw it right here. Okay, make sure that your corners are 90 degrees each. Make sure that they're straight. One thing that helps is to say, okay, this is parallel to the edge of the page. To the edge of this page, parallel to the edge of this page, and that helps a little bit for you to get that down. Okay. When you are happy with that rectangle, this is basically the chest. You know that we've talked about when we draw animals and people, we draw the chest and the hips and the head, and that's like the same all throughout. That's the same for this guy too, because he's humanoid, he's going to have a chest, he's going to have hips, head, elbows, everything like that. Okay, let's take a look at these hips here. Now if you notice, it's a much smaller rectangle. I think probably 3 or 4 could fit inside this. So make sure that you draw it small enough. It's not quite in the center. It's a little bit to the side. It looks like it might be a little bit of a longer rectangle than what we've got here. It goes about to here. Okay, this looks about right to me. Once you feel like you're in a good spot like with that, let's move on and draw the lines for our legs and our knees. Let's take a look at this knee right here. It is just off the corner of this. Okay. And let's take a look at this knee here. It is a little bit further away from this corner and a little bit lower. But it's about right here. Okay. They kind of look like floating bubbles, so let's connect them with a line. This line goes through here, and as you can see, it bends down about to here. Let's measure how far down it goes. I think it's about this and this combined. So if you want to measure that with your fingers, bring that down and tilt it a little bit. This is the end mark. Cool. Okay, and it looks like this bottom one ends about the same place, so go ahead and mark that. Make sure it's on the same plane here. If you notice, this one comes out more like this. Okay, this line is shorter because this leg is foreshortened. We're seeing more the side of this leg. Okay, we bring this down to here. Okay, it does end up a little bit higher than that, so go ahead and end it about right there. Okay, these are our legs. Ooh, he's looking like a very interesting stick man, isn't he? Let's get our shoulders down. Now, it's not marked in the sheet, but I'm just going to mark these little circles right here, and there's one right here. They're almost at the corners of this rectangle. Okay. These arms are a little bit tricky because it's almost like they're dislocated from the main body. If you can see, it kind of stretches out like this, so it's like almost like we're adding an extra piece of the limb. Let's mark this with a line. Can you see how this line kind of goes out? And it looks like it stops about in the middle of this rectangle, so go ahead and stop it right there. Okay, and then it goes in. We have the hand about right here. Can you see how far away this hand is from the circle? Alright, and it is bigger than the circle, about, I'm going to say maybe 3 times as big as the circle. Okay, we have an elbow right here. Remember, it's about in the middle of this. Let's just bring it down like that. Okay. So to recap, we have the shoulder limb right here, the upper arm here, elbow here, forearm here, hand here. Okay, now let's get this one down. Okay, we have the shoulder joint here. This, look at where this elbow is. It's almost straight across from the corner here. It might be just a little bit lower. I'd say it's about this big, so go ahead and draw a circle right there. Check it out. This is at this angle about. Okay, so go ahead and draw that. And then it bends down about this far. Check out where this hand is. It's about right here. And it's a lot smaller because it is behind. So it's a little bit further away. Okay, now the moment that we all have been waiting for. Let's do his head. Check out the head. It's about placed the same place that the hips are. It's a little bit more to the left than to the right, so it's not centered. And that's because the chest is actually at an angle. We're not looking at it straight on. Look at that head. It's almost as big as the hand. Isn't that crazy? It is as big as the hand. They make the head really tiny. Once again, we've talked about this before. They make the head tiny and they make the chest and arms huge so that it looks a lot tougher. So even though it actually doesn't have muscles or bones or anything, it does look tough because they're still using those same elements. If you look at the circle, it's almost cut in half by this. It's a little bit higher than half. Okay, look at this. It kind of looks like a goofy looking monster here. Okay, we won't worry about all these little add-ons and extras yet. Let's get the rectangles for the arms and legs down. All right, and the thing about the rectangles for the arms and legs is that, you know, we draw a line and then we draw the rectangles and then we have to go in and mess with it some more because obviously, if you can see on the page, they're even different than the rectangles, right? They have a lot of ins and outs. They have, you know, the machinery and the Gatling guns or whatever is in there. So when it comes to machinery, it's not just blocking it out and then drawing it like we did for the human figure. It's actually, there's lots of ins and outs and contours and things like that. So it's pretty tricky. Let's do these two rectangles. As you can see, they are at an angle here, like this. Okay. And this one looks like the corner snags about right here. It goes in about right here. Comes down about right here. Like this. Okay, let's get this big rectangle down. Check it out. This one is fat, and the reason is because of the angle that it's at. There is a huge mass of something behind her. I don't know if that's the top of the truck or what. If I had a better picture, I'm sure I could tell. Let's get that down. Check out the angle that it's at. Make sure that the sides are parallel to this line that we drew. It looks like it doesn't go out this far, it just goes out a little bit. Okay, but this back here, it gets pretty wide. Like this. Yep, this feels about right to me. How about to you? Alright, when we've got that, let's make the wedge for the foot. Kind of goes through here. Cuts in like that. Like this. Okay. So think 3D shape here. Let's catch this other leg here. Make sure that it's, let's see, it's more like this, parallel to what we got here. Okay, wider on this side. Tilts down like this. I think I might have made that a little bit too long. Okay, let's catch that wedge shape. Give this like this, like this. Okay, maybe a little bit wider foot there. Okay, now that we have those down, let's get the shapes of the arms down. Now check out where this rectangle begins. It's just off of the corner there. It goes like this, comes down like this. And let's get the shape of this rectangle. It's a lot shorter than this rectangle. That's because of the way the arm is positioned. It's foreshortened. Okay. And I think we might have drawn that hand a little bit too close. We'll just bring it in a little bit. Not a problem. Okay, let's do this one. So you can see it looks like the rectangle is wider because we're seeing it at a different angle. It tucks in like this over this rectangle. It goes like this. Okay, and then this one actually overlaps on this corner. And that's pretty short too. It's not a long rectangle. Okay, and then we're seeing it taper into the hand. So it kind of goes like this, and then we have the little hand right there. Let's flesh out this head. It's actually more of a triangle here. If you can see, this goes above the circle about this much. Now take a look at this. In Transformers, the head folds down into its chest, and so when we do this, we need to make sure that we have a space, a kind of square space for the head to tuck into. All right, you can kind of see that. So what we've got here is, we've got his funny little horns going on here. And his face kind of goes like that. You can draw a line in it. Okay. Now this little crevice that we just drew looks a little bit funny, and that's because we haven't done the chest properly yet. So let's flesh that out. Now if you take a look, I've drawn the corner here. It's just a little bit down from this corner. I'm going to draw it like this. This goes up a little bit. Okay, let's shave this off. Got this shape right here, like this. Can you see how it's tilted like this? And then it's tilted up like this. Up like this. Okay, and if you can see, we have indents for when the shoulder folds in too, so that the hands, or that the arms can be close to it. So let's draw these little indents right here. And if you take a look, it looks like the chest goes above this square just a little bit. Okay, and then once you have that, you can erase the boundaries that we made for this rectangle. Okay, that's looking kind of cool, huh? Just dips down a little bit. Okay, that's looking kind of cool. Let's get these hips down. It looks like there's a little indent right there. It's kind of more shaped like this. That's so that the legs can fit in the corners there. All right. And then let's, do we want to do the legs or do we want to do these goofy wings next? I think we should do the wings. Those are pretty big rectangles. So let's just lightly, can you see how close they are to here? Lightly just block them out. This rectangle, they're pretty thin. All right, they attach right here. Goes in like this. You can kind of, once you get that rectangle down where it is, you can kind of add this little guy right there. Okay, and the same up here. We can see that it attaches right here. Go ahead and draw that line. We have the rectangle, and it looks like it's actually really close to the end of this arm. Let's draw that. Okay, let's get this Gatling gun down. Can you see how close the end of the gun, the circle, is to there? Looks like it's about this close. Okay, and then it kind of just tucks in behind the head here. It's a little bit like that. Looks like it comes out the back behind its shoulder. So maybe we could draw that thing going down. I think I need to make it just a little bit lower here. All right, boom, baby. Now that we've got that all fleshed out, what we want to go in and do is look very carefully at the picture. Now that we have the basic outline, we go in and flesh out the details even more. And this is going to take a while, so I'm going to speed it up. Da-da! Okay, here is our very rough robot. Alright, still pretty rough, but it's getting there. Now, at this point, I want to talk to you about how to customize it so it looks more like you. Alright, we could spend hours messing with, you know, how big you want the arms to be, and maybe if you're a girl, maybe you could, you know, make the top part more curvy and stuff. We're not going to do that, but that is something to think about. You can look up all these reference pictures of all these different transformers and decide which pieces of it look more like you. But for now, we're just going to mess with this basic shape. Let's say that you are a boy who has very spiky hair. What you would do is you would add more spikes to what we have here. Okay, let's say that you have spiky hair and maybe a shorter nose. So instead of this kind of long nose like that, you would make the nose look like this. Okay. Kind of go like that. All right, let's say, and you want to echo those elements. So if you had spiky hair, you'd probably have a spiky design right here and right here, and maybe add some spikes right there. Okay, so just echoing the element. Let's say that you are a girl who has braids. So what you would do is maybe go more like this. Okay, and braids would be kind of tricky. I would say if you have bangs, kind of go like this. And maybe have those braid be designs right here, like this. Okay, so those would be your braids. Look like this. Go down like that. Okay, so that would be kind of fun. Let's say you want to look super macho. Let's make this gun really big. Okay, like this. Ooh, this is big. Make your head maybe even smaller. Make your eyes look more evil. Could make the horns a little bit bigger, like that. Okay, make it more angular. Okay, if you wanna look dangerous, lots of sharp angles. That's the way to go. Like that. Have this front design, you know, maybe spiked down like that. Okay, so there's a lot of options you can do. Having a mirror and looking at yourself in the mirror might help as well. Now for me, I'm going to draw me. I have this big swath of bangs or whatever and a lot of curly do on the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add kind of a thing like this, and then maybe my hair like this. We're going to go in like this. Okay, and this will be me. Okay, the nose like this. Okay. All right. I like softer things, so I'm going to round this out. Like this. Okay, I'm going to make this a flower. Alright, I'm going to bring this in a little bit to make myself look more girly. Okay, and I'm going to echo that roundness in all the design, okay? Let's clean this up and at the same time customize it. We'll begin. Okay, ta-da! As you can see, I added my own adjustments. I made the wings more like actual wings with feathers and stuff, and I made the gun smaller because I'm a coward. And, yeah, as you can see, it's pretty loose. I would say that drawing machinery is not my strength. However, it could be your strength. So I think that you might really enjoy the homework that we have this week, which is practice drawing vehicles and the elements of machinery. Alright, so I would say open a car hood and practice drawing that, or going online and once again figuring out how things work and practice drawing that, and just practice drawing any kind of machines or machinery or transformers or cars or whatever. Awesome! Guess what time it is? This is the part of the show where I answer a question. So today I have a question from one of the kids in my class. I teach a storyboarding class, and he was wondering what is the best sketchbook to use. Okay, I would recommend using a sketchbook that's this big or larger. Make sure that it's spiral bound. You can get a regular notebook, but what you'll find is that you can't lay it flat, and that's really annoying. So make sure that it's spiral bound so that you can lay it flat. That's a big deal. This big or bigger so that you have enough room to move around your hand. I would recommend making sure that it has thicker paper. You don't want super thin paper. Some people use sketchbooks that have darker paper, and that's so that they can, like darker as in maybe closer to this color, and that's so that they can draw both ink on it and then also draw the highlights on it with a white pencil. I have a couple of sketchbooks. This is what I mean when I say, you know, probably not this, because it doesn't lay flat. It's kind of unwieldy. It has marks in it. I don't know if you can see. That might be useful for some things. I mean, really, it doesn't matter what sketchbook you have, as long as you're drawing in it and trying to get better. Really doesn't matter. So if this works for you, fine. But I really do prefer hardcover. If you can hear that. Hardcover, that gives it substance, and thicker paper. I don't know if you can see this. It's spiral bound. And actually, you can find that kind of sketchbook anywhere. I think that you can sell it at Walmart, but Amazon has been the best place that I found it. I sometimes get these custom sketchbooks from a place called Red Barn Collections. They're great. And this is actually my watercolor sketchbook. It has serrated pages. You can even make your own sketchbook by going to a copy and print store and asking them to get a whole bunch of cardstock together and spiral binding it for you. And I think some of them even offer hardcover too. I know for sure they offer soft cover. That's a little bit more expensive, I think, than just buying one on Amazon. But there you have it. Those are some of the sketchbooks that I recommend. Really doesn't matter as long as you're practicing drawing. But I do like the spiral bound ones that lay flat. Okay, and I think that's it for episode 17, Practice Drawing Machines. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.